Welcome to the FangledCast, brought to you by Fangled Technologies, where we help you convert every person your company touches into a voracious advocate for your brand. So everybody, welcome back to the FangledCast. This week's going to be a little bit different than many because I got a guy on who's never had a job. Never once has he had a job, but he's been a huge success, and he's taken those successes to market to help other people be successful. So it struck me, and Tom and I have only known each other for a short period of time, but Tom Antion has a podcast that I was invited on, and now I've invited him on mine to talk a little bit further. So before we go any further, and I asked Tom to introduce himself, I want to tell you, if you haven't been catching Screw the Commute, the podcast, that's the first thing you're going to get out of this podcast that you should be doing as soon as you finish listening to this one. So Tom, welcome aboard the FangledCast.
Thanks.
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I want to correct one little thing is that I did actually apply for a job once. You know, I'm a country bumpkin, came out of nothing, and I saw it was 401k, and I thought, man, 400,000 for a starting salary, that's pretty good.
Well, I mean, Tom, I hate to interrupt, but I mean, we had you on because you've never had a job.
Well, I didn't get it.
I think we might have to end this interview right now.
No, I didn't get the job. But yeah, my whole life has been designed about avoiding working for a living. You know, and they say an entrepreneur will work 80 hours a week to get out of work and 40 for somebody else. So that's the way I've lived my life, my whole life.
It's a great way to put it. I love that. So, you know, one of the things that you know, as I reviewed your material, and I know a bit about your company, that it really, you know, all kidding aside, out of this sort of place of service and kindness, working with folks, tell the audience before we kind of get into the meat of the conversation, the kinds of things that you do to help people create their own wealth in their own businesses.
Well, you know, I came from a very frugal background. My dad came on a cattle boat from Syria in the early 1900s. And I to this day, I can't brush my teeth and let the water run, because I hear my dad saying, "You're wasting water, you're wasting things." And we had to take lumber and used lumber and take the nails out and straighten them up and reuse them again. So sure. I grew up with a frugal attitude of not wasting things, not cheapskate, but not don't blow a lot of money. So that's one of the first things I encourage my students to do, is to keep the cost low. Because if you spend $15,000 on a website that should cost $150,000, you have to make enormous amounts of money just to get back to being broke. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, so
that's a great way to put it. So many people get suckered into spending so much money getting their business off the ground that isn't necessary. We talk about it all the time, and you know, we do the Pick My Brain sessions at Fangled with folks where they met with some marketing guy. And I always joke about some marketing guy. I never say some marketing gal. I don't want to insult anyone, but you know, and they go, "Oh my God, this guy told me that he could build me this website, and he would drive 100,000 people a day to it because he knows the secret
right
of SEO." And I always have the same question. Well, based on what? Have you even looked at who your customer is? It's, you know, what problems are you solving better than anybody else?
I mean, yeah, literally, I could have 10,000 visitors to your site tomorrow. Literally.
Yeah.
But they'd be all worthless, you know, because they weren't targeted to what you are selling.
Yeah, it's kind of like the folks on LinkedIn who brag about having, I got 30,000 connections. You know, yeah, well, half of them are boat dismantlers in a third world country, and I don't know that they're going to be doing much business or otherwise with you. So what kind of I know one of the things that you really specialize is helping people with their public speaking. When that's a factor for folks, how do you present a course in a way that person who's so camera shy, so unable to get in front of people, so that they can truly be in fact impactful towards the goals that they've set for themselves?
Well, you know, we're having trouble because of the pandemic now. There's less speaking engagements, but for many, many years and into the future, when all this stuff passes, there's nothing like seeing somebody live in person. One of the main problems is they don't know what to do. So they're apprehensive about it. So I'm very technique oriented in that if they know what to do, their confidence level starts to rise. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you know what to do, and what to say, if somebody sneezes in the audience or coughs, or if somebody asks a question that is off topic, what to say, what to do to not alienate the audience. So your confidence level keeps rising, as you learn more and more about the techniques of being a professional speaker. I get lots of people that are I kind of say rejects from Toastmasters. and they said, well, I spoke at church and everybody liked it. Well, at church, they don't eat their young like a sales force does out on the golf, that you're the last speaker between them and the golf course in Las Vegas. All right.
Yeah.
So the more you can learn about the techniques of it, the less you have to worry about your own internal feelings. So I'm very technique oriented. I'm not a woo-woo kind of be with your audience kind of guy. No, if this happens, this is what you do. Let's practice that. If this happens, this is what you do. Let's practice that until it's ingrained in you and it just happens, rather than you got to stop and think, what was I supposed to do? So a lot of times I teach people they need to practice the technique 30 to 50 times minimum before they ever do it live in front of an audience. And they're supposed to do it while they're doing something else, like showering or working on something or driving, so that no matter what distractions are happening, it's already ingrained. They have muscle memory in their lips and they can spit it out.
It's funny. I've always heard the expression, practice makes perfect. Nonsense. Practice makes permanent. Perfect practice is what you really want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the process of public speaking for most, it brings such terror to so many people. And for me, I personally don't get it. I've been doing, business presentations in multi languages all over the place for years. But one guy that I was talking to, I said, well, you can always go back to the old technique you heard when we were kids. Just imagine everybody in the audience in their underwear. And he goes, no, most of the people I speak to are really ugly.
Yeah, or you don't want to get excited up on stage.
That's a whole other issue.
Yeah. I did a study on this with thousands of professional speakers years and years ago, and found out that many of the people, this will kind of surprise you, many of the people that have stage fright or performance anxiety, listen to this, they had invasive surgery as a child. That's kind of weird. I had never dreamed that was going to come out of it. But then the other thing is many of them had parents that would expect children to sit down and shut up, and you should be seen and not heard. So they, right from a young formative age, they felt what they had to say wasn't important.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's
so
really
you as parents out there, encourage your kids to talk to other adults and listen to them, and then they'll grow up feeling that what they have to say is important.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm convinced that the best public speakers are also the best listeners. When you get someone up on stage who can't listen to people who just already knows everything, and they just want to tell you how great they are, how brilliant they are. As I joke about the bad podcasts out there, I call them ego casts. It's all about me. Even though you're on my show, I know so much more than you. I brought you on just so you could try to catch up. Those kind of guys. And when you get a great public speaker and then you meet him afterwards, it seems like 90%. By the way, I love to create statistics that don't really have any basis in reality. 90%, 50% of the people are below average intelligence. I don't know if you knew that.
You just made that up, right?
No, it's true. Think about it.
I'd say it's higher than.
No, because if it's 50%, it's average.
Right,
but you get in those situations where people who've never been listened to also have a real hard time getting up, because no one's going to listen to me anyhow. Why am I going to get up and talk? So all of those things play into that, and I think the work that you do in that area is really powerful.
Well, most of the work is done long before. I have a goal. When I get a speaking engagement, I want them to love me before I even get in the country I'm speaking in.
Sure.
And that's all through pre-program research.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the listening comes in. I talk to at least 15 people in every audience before I speak on the phone ahead of time. There's so many good things about that. I learn insider stuff that I can use and attribute to them, make them the stars. If you make them the stars, they make you the stars.
Yeah.
And here's one super insider.
Please.
So if I'm talking to a meeting planner, I say, okay, who's the person in the crowd that's always hates everybody and knows more and's a heckler? And so they tell me. So I make sure I talk to that person. Mm-hmm. And I say, hey, I want to get your opinion on this because I don't want to waste anybody's time and so forth. And then they give me all what they think. They never heckle me because I'll bring him up during the crowd and say, hey, Joe said to me this. And so they don't heckle me. They just wanted to be heard. They
want a heckler into a teammate. Good for you.
Exactly.
It's funny when you really look at the science of speaking to a large crowd and you talk to folks who do it all the time. And I'm sure you probably have had this experience. If you start to watch the crowd, you can figure out who leads the crowd and who you should be talking to. You can't talk to everyone, but if there's a leader and you talk to them, it helps. There's a bunch of those kinds of really practical things that people learn over time.
There's another insider tip. If you ever speak to a really big crowd, they have you on what's called IMAG, which means your picture's projected on these giant screens on the side. Mm-hmm. And so you could be standing right in front of people in the front row, and they're trying to look past you to see you on the big screen. And it's very disconcerting because it's like me talking to you like this, and so you have to fight that and still give them eye contact and stuff.
Yeah. As a kid, I loved magic as a kid. I could do close-up magic for people for hours. And the one thing I learned in that carries forward to what we're talking about is also, if you as a magician make a goof and you don't tell anybody you goof, the only one who knows is you.
Exactly.
Same thing in the public speaking arena. Mm-hmm. There is the foot and mouth kind of things that you say. Years ago, when I lived in Brazil, I won't get into the details of it, but I said something that was a direct translation from English that would have been funny. But in Portuguese, I literally insulted everyone in the room. I got the devil stare from not just one or two, every set of eyes that were looking through me. And I, recognized it, listened, paid attention, and moved forward.
Well, I tell people the only time I open my mouth is to change feet. I'll tell you one time.
Wait, let me see your tongue. Is there a vibram stamp?
Yeah, right. So one of the biggest mistakes I made, there's two major ones that happened that I can remember in all. I've done 3,000 speeches. So I started my career, I came out of an entertainment company. So I was speaking in the early 90s on humor in the workplace, which was a big topic in those days. And so I'm talking about how having pictures of your pets and your grandchildren and kids and stuff on your cubicle could make you feel better during the day. So I went up to this lady and I said, ma'am, don't you think it'd be nice to have your grandchildren's pictures up on your, cubicle above your workstation? All I saw was daggers coming from her eyes. The whole room went silent. And this was a humor seminar, so it's not like it wasn't obvious, right? Yeah, and I'm thinking, oh my God, maybe they got killed in an accident or something. I'm thinking all these things, and I finished the speech, and I finally get to the meeting planner. I said, oh man, what happened when I went up to that one lady? She said, she's only 35.
It reminds me of a horrible story. A guy that I knew who worked as an EMT for years. And he had been doing it for far too long. He ended up losing his job because he started kind of losing it. But he tells the story that they picked up this woman who was having significant abdominal pain, taking her to the hospital. And they put her on the gurney and they got her in and he was treating her. And he said, when's the baby due? She said, that's my liver. And horrible story. But again, it's
Dave Barry, that comedian, said, the only time you ever say anything like that as if you actually see the baby coming out.
I couldn't agree more. But yeah, let's kind of move on from the public speaking thing, because I know you also have a course related to helping people be more impactful in the internet.
Well, yeah. So basically, my whole career has been because of my dad says, be excellent at what you do. And so I tried to be so excellent at public speaking, people started asking me to teach them. So that's when I developed the courses on public speaking. So I spoke, got paid for that, and I spoke and I got paid for teaching others.
Yeah.
So when the commercial internet came along in 1994, you know, we were all selling stuff, cassette tapes and stuff at the back of the room, and it was hard enough to sell them across the street, let alone sell them around the world, right? So when the commercial internet came around in 1994, I thought, oh my God, you tell me I can sit on my rear end in front of this computer and sell my stuff? I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
So first 2 years, I mean, day and night, I was trying to figure it out and didn't make a nickel. Then I got good training and I started making money. And then, you know, I'm a fanatic. So I started really working it and got so good at it. I was selling my stuff, but the same thing happened. People started begging me to teach them. And that's where I started. I have the longest running, there was about 3 of us at the time. I have the longest running internet seminar, and it's got a goofy name because I came from entertainment world, and it's called Butt Camp. And it's because everybody wanted me to do a boot camp. Tom, you got to do a boot camp. You're really doing good on the internet. I said, everybody does boot camps. I don't want to do the same as everybody else. So I thought, I'm sitting here on my rear end making all this money. I'll call it Butt Camp. And it caught on, and I've done them in 12 countries around the world. But except in London, they made me call it Bum Camp instead of Butt Camp.
Oh, that's funny. Of course, around here, a bum camp is when a bunch of homeless people are hanging out in the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I long before the internet, when I used to go to a lot of those seminars and they had the tapes in the back of the room, I had shelves full of those tapes I'd never listened to.
I call it shelf help. Yeah.
Yeah. It's every guy I knew had case after case of cassette tapes, pre-CDs.
Yeah.
Never made it inside the cassette player, but you felt like just by owning them, it's kind of like a lot of people with business books, shelves full of them they've never read. But by osmosis,
this goes right into your head. Yeah.
Yeah. I put mine under my pillow.
I'll do it.
So, well, fantastic. The thing that had brought us together was your Screw the Commute podcast, which I think is just a fantastic name. What was the inspiration for the title, and what does someone get when they hang out and check out the Screw the Commute when we don't commute anymore?
Well, I'm real. I like to do stuff that's credible. And so there's very few people like me that have never had a job but have been successful. And so it was a natural spinoff. So it's very credible for me to do a Screw the Commute since I've never commuted. All right. So, so that was the first thing. And then on Mondays, I do a training session where talking about something that's either made me a lot of money or saved me a lot of money. And on Wednesdays and Fridays, I interview other great entrepreneurs like you, because everybody's got different perspectives and things on things. And so I learn a lot from them. They learn from me. So it's been a wonderful vehicle. But the reason I used to poo-poo podcast because it was mostly ego people like you talked about earlier, just wanting to hear themselves talk. And nobody was making any money. So I got mine started, I think, close to 3 years ago. We're doing 390 episodes at this point. And one of the reasons is because the number one, audio is the only medium where you can learn or be entertained while you're doing something else. So that's always been that way.
Sure.
But the new cars are where you can just talk into the dashboard and say, hey, play Screw the Commute podcast, and boom, it starts playing. So that's enormous, hundreds of millions of new potential places. And it's the listenership has exceeded XM radio because you got to pay for that. So podcasts are free. So that's one thing. And then all the in-home devices, the Alexa, Echo, and the Google, whatever it's called, there's the last count, there was hundreds of millions of those out there, which people can literally go and say, play the Screw the Commute podcast, and boom, I start playing in their house. And so with those more and more people getting on the bandwagon, the listenership going crazy, it's a great marketing vehicle. Yep. And but I don't do it like everybody else. I actually have a training course on it too. Most people want to get a sponsor. Well, they just don't. They hear that and they say, "Oh, that's really cool. Get a sponsor." But the problem is it's they don't know the numbers. Sponsors pay between $12 and $18 per 1,000 downloads. It's hard to get 1,000 downloads. All right. So I teach people, be your own sponsor. Have every episode is me promoting my own stuff, and I have stuff from $20 to $58,000. All right. Yep. And so I could go 50 episodes and not make a nickel and still make more than the average podcaster. Mm-hmm. So,
you know, based on that model is our video production, live video, be present in the meeting that we're developing is going to be the sponsor of FangledTech.
Exactly.
FangledCast. It's a powerful tool. The other, there's another thing that we've been playing with. So if you want to promote a product that you have and you know somebody who has lots of downloads, you can do an affiliate program where you give them a secret code and say, look, I'm not going to pay you cash to sponsor your show. But if you have sponsors, it builds your integrity as a show. So you can say you're sponsored by FangledTech or you're sponsored by whoever. And if people use the link that you put out there and click on my site, I'll give you a commission on whatever they do.
It's just affiliate marketing. Yeah. And it's still more money than if you just tried to get a sponsor, because first of all, you're not going to get the sponsor because they're going to see you don't have the downloads. They won't even want you. And for, you know, a brand new podcast that's just starting from scratch, it could be a year before you get 1,000 downloads per episode or more. So you have nobody interested in you. But in this method, you can go look for affiliate products and do the same thing. So it's there's plenty of ways to monetize it now that that you didn't have before. Absolutely. But the big money can be from, you developing bigger products, coaching programs, and online things and all that.
Yeah, we look at the podcast in a lot of different ways, and none of them are making ad dollars from thousands of downloads.
No.
At the core of it, the reason Fangled as a company, we made the decision to do this was so that people could actually get a feel for who we are and decide, is that someone I'd want to work with? And on a selfish note, there are people who watch this and don't like it, and we're glad because it saves us from having to take the time to pitch and try to get on board with someone who wouldn't like us.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, my personality is not for everybody, that's for sure. I mean, but for the ones that are, they're rabid advocates, and they.
Where'd you hear that from?
Yeah.
Voracious advocate.
Yeah, voracious advocates that refer me. I mean, I have people that could never afford my bigger stuff that still say, hey, he treated me nice and I got a lot of good stuff from him. You ought to try Tom Antion. And then I give them an affiliate commission for it.
Yeah. And I believe that based on what you do, those people who start out not being able to afford it eventually will.
Yeah, if they do. Yeah, I had a lady, I was doing a fundraiser up in Philadelphia not too long ago. This lady comes up to me and she starts crying right in front of me. I have no idea who it is. I'm saying,
you have that effect on women.
I wonder who this is. Is she pregnant? I don't know. What is that? I don't know. She said, she's literally blubbering. And she said, I saw you 15 years ago at butt camp. She attended a butt camp. It was a public seminar. And she said, my husband had lost his job. I wasn't making money. The kids were little and we had no way to turn. And I did what you told me at butt camp, and it changed our whole family's life. And we have a nice big online business now. And so I started crying, she's crying. It's that kind of stuff. After we get done crying, I said, well, you might want to kick in a commission there. No.
Did she introduce you to her son, little Tom?
No. Don't name after me.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant that she just was so happy to know you that she named her firstborn after you.
Oh, no, didn't know. It was already born before.
Okay. I wasn't implying anything. All right. Well, this has been really fun. I'm so glad you're on. I always end my interviews with the most powerful question ever. What should I have asked you about that I didn't?
How people can get started inexpensively.
How?
Okay. Well, I get a lot of that. People come to me and they're like desperate to make money right away. So, and this might surprise you. It surprises a lot of them. The first place I send people is eBay, because you don't have to have a website. People are coming there to spend money. And if we have time, I can tell you some crazy stories about a couple quick ones.
Go ahead.
So, this one lady's a friend of mine. She was a single mom. She would take 80 to $100 every Saturday and go to yard sales. And eBay has this feature called advanced search. And you click on it. And if she saw maybe, let's say, a Tonka truck at a yard sale for $5, she'd go on her cell phone, go to eBay, advanced search, Tonka trucks, and it's selling for $50. She would buy it. If it was selling for $3, she wouldn't buy it. She was clearing $1,000 to $1,100 a week.
Wow.
Doing this, taking care of her kids and her family just from eBay with no website of her own. So it can be very powerful. They can make a lot of money fast. The craziest thing, though, I buy a lot of stuff because I'm frugal. And so I bought this tool from this guy, and I go to his house, a gorgeous house. He had a $500,000 motorhome out front. He came to the door dressed nicely, and he invited me into his shop to buy this tool. So I go in his house, we go down to the basement, walking back to his shop, and Andrew, everything up to this point was normal. Okay. Until we're going back to.
Do I need to keep my finger on the mute button here?
No. So we're walking back to his shop, and I'm looking over in his basement. There's hundreds of ladies' brassieres hanging from the ceiling. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy sucks people in, kills them, and hangs their underwear. I'm like thinking all this stuff. So I go in there, I buy the tool. I'm talking to him how our dads taught us to buy tools and everything. And so everything, there's nothing, he's not even paying any attention to that. So we go to leave, and I said, I got to ask him, man, what are all those bras? He says, oh, my daughter goes to thrift stores. She knows all the thrift stores. She knows all the sizes that people want. She buys them up, cleans them up, and sells them on eBay. $200,000 a year she's making, clearing, selling used bras on eBay. I think I would like to get into that, but if I was hanging around thrift stores looking for bras, I might not go.
Yeah, I think that you're probably not the right fit for that business model.
Well, I am a big guy, and people, I'm always trying to lose weight. So people say, well, Tom, how much weight you want to lose? And I said, I just want to get down to a B cup.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the whole concept of bootstrapping. Not long ago, I was in a meeting, and there was a speaker who really had done great in his life, much like yourself, bootstrapping a business. And he said what was interesting was I needed to have coding done. So at night, I would learn to code, and I was able to code, make these things. And one of the people in the group says, well, that's ridiculous. If you wanted to get off the ground sooner, you should have gone on Fiverr or one of those other websites. He said, no, I didn't have any money. He says, well, if you don't have any money, you can't bootstrap a business. And I thought my head was going to explode.
I know. Everything I've started has been, even this big, I got a $2 million retreat center. It's the only one in the world like this. And I told people, this is one of the mind tricks I use to be successful, is I announce that I'm going to do something to the world. And then I'm too embarrassed not to do it. So I'll scratch and crawl over every obstacle to do it. So I got a no money. I said, I'm going to get a no money down loan on this big property. And this person said, you can't do it. Mortgage brokers tell me, you're crazy. You're doing good, but there's no way. I did. I got a no money down loan on this massive place. Did I take it? No. I took a 5% because the interest rate was a little too high on the no money down, but I did it. So that's a mind trick I play on myself. So, announce it to the world. So I'm too embarrassed to not do it.
That's not just a mind trick. That's how so many people, depending on which year you're bringing it out, whether there's so many different books that have renamed it.
Oh, really, okay. Yeah.
If you don't know your destination, how the heck are you going to get there? Is the way I always put it. if you don't have a goal in mind of what it would look like to be where you want to be, how are you going to know when you got there?
Well, another mind trick that spins off of that I use is I've never reached it. People say, well, you know, tell us about your goal setting, Tom. And I said, well, I've never reached a goal in my entire life, ever. Because as soon as I get anywhere near it, another one appears past it.
Sure.
That's how you move forward all life. Because I'm thinking, if I get this goal, well, then what? You know, now what do I do? So I'm always got one ahead of it.
It's like the old revenge movies. The guy kills someone in his family, and I'm going to get, and then after they finally get him and they do what they have to do, what do I do? My entire life was devoted to this.
Right.
He's gone. Now what? I gotta find someone else to piss me off so I have something to do. So anyhow, how can people find you?
Well, I got a giveaway for them that could help them really, really well. It's a free book that they can automate their business. These are all the tips and tricks. I mean, I got up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers, handling them by myself with these tools and tips. Now I've hired lots of people since then, but they can go to screwthecommute.com/ I'll put it, let's see, I want to put your name on it. So Andrew,
I'll put it down in the.
Okay. So so we'll have a link down in the thing for you that'll take you to a page all about this interview, and you can get that free ebook there. And we sell it for $27, but it's so helpful to business to be able to handle people lightning fast. One of the tips, just one, has saved me. We actually figured it out, estimated it, 7.5 million keystrokes. All right. So these are very powerful. We also have cell phone automation tips and all kinds of things in it.
I could use some of those keystrokes. I'm almost out of them in my drawer of keystrokes.
Yeah, there you go.
Great. Well, it's so fantastic having you on the show. I hope everyone who was watching today's FangledCast got a kick out of it, learned something from it, will like it, share it, fax a friend, telex a neighbor, do whatever it takes. And certainly click the subscribe button on YouTube so that you can be party to future FangledCasts. Thanks so much for coming on, and thanks to everybody out there in YouTubeville that's checking this out or on the audio-only version. Thanks so much.
All right. Catch you later.
Brought to you by Fangled Technologies, where we help you convert every person your company touches into a voracious advocate for your brand.